Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And there was certainly some clashes on the timeline last night between some of the professional players as we gear up for what may well be one of the more important days and exciting days of Call of Duty regular season action we have seen this season so far. And do take your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always, I greatly appreciate it. If anybody else on the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, thought this was very interesting with regard to the World Series of Warzone, starting very soon, I believe on June the 23rd. Now this will be broadcast exclusively on Twitch in a new partnership. Now, of course, very interesting, as Ace points out, the fact that the Warzone stuff is exclusive to Twitch, CDL is still exclusive to YouTube at the present time. Now, I do wonder what this means going forwards, because obviously Activision here are looking at the Twitch partnership, thinking that makes way more sense for Warzone. Will they think a similar thing for the CDL? I think the YouTube deal could actually have been a decent idea for the CDL if YouTube can actually figure out the discovery, right? Because there's like more than 10 times as many people just for gaming content on YouTube as there is on Twitch. So if the discovery is there, YouTube may be a better future for live streaming. However, as of recent, really in the whole esports world, co-streaming has become a massive thing. Like you can imagine, Nick Merckx can actually co-stream FaZe versus OpTic in a major or something like that. He's going to pull in 50,000 viewers easy to that match, no problem at all, and it will create a load of new fans for the scene. So clearly that might be the way they decide to go. I don't know when the YouTube deal ends for the CDL, if it's up this season, if it's up next season, who really knows, but I think this could be a step towards getting maybe back to Twitch for the CDL, so I thought it was something to mention. Regardless, and as Nader, well, Jake, like he says right here about Nature, how he removed his Twitch partner to try to co-stream the CDL on YouTube, and now he'll be back on Twitch for the World Series of Warzone regardless. So a little bit of a strange situation, all things considered. This also is a very interesting statistics from Brad Levin Stats right here. This, I haven't seen any stats on it so far this season, so I thought it was cool to mention. 91% of the time that a team has outslayed their opponent in hardpoints, they've won the map. Now, it's pretty interesting that Ultras to the two outliers, right? You've got this one outlier up here, which is Toronto 14 clubbing LA Thieves, and then you've got the other one all the way down on the left-hand side that I'll put on screen for you guys right now, where they lose to New York despite getting 23 more kills than New York did at the time. So yeah, pretty incredible overall scoreboard, as you can see right here, getting completely outslayed, but still managing to find a way to win this map 250 to 244. And of course, speaking of the New York Subliners, they are now officially qualified for the World Championship. We've talked these last several days about, okay, which teams are going to get into champs, and it seems pretty clear which 8 teams are going to make it, which 4 teams are not going to make it at the present time. FaZe were, until yesterday, the only team that have qualified so far officially for the World Championship, because there's still a world in which LAG could have won every single series and overtaken some of these teams and relegated them down there to the bottom 4 if they just lose every single series from here on out. Now, once Los Angeles Guerrillas lost yesterday, and once New York won a couple of days ago against well, you know, effectively they clinched a spot when they beat Ravens a couple of days ago, but technically, when Los Angeles Guerrillas lost to Ravens yesterday, that was when Subliners officially did secure their seeds. And once LAG is eliminated from the major, assuming they don't win the entire thing, about 3 more teams will be locked in for the World Championship, which right now would be Toronto Ultra, Dallas Empire, and the OpTic Chicago, as it sits at the very least at the present time. Now, there was a little bit of a, well, certainly back and forth on the timeline last night. Firstly, regarding Los Angeles Guerrillas, they had, I'm pretty sure, the worst stage of any team so far this season. In 3 and 15 map counts, 3 maps is the fewest maps a single team has won so far this season in an individual 5-map stage, or 5 series stage, right? They played 5 series, they won 3 maps. It's not ideal. They broke the previous record from Seattle of 4 and 15 in stage 3. So yeah, it keeps getting worse for these teams at the bottom. And as Nameless says, you know, LAG might need to make a few changes. Nah, they straight, says Karma. And then he tweets this out as well, too little too late, right? Which is just incredible to see the fact that LAG, the only change they made this season realistically was taking Vivid out of their team and bringing in Chino. And it's just mind-blowing to me the fact that Vivid was probably the best player on their team. I understand what they felt that they were doing there, and they probably got a decent buyout amount of cash for Vivid over to the Dallas Empire. At the end of the day, though, Los Angeles Guerrillas have never been competitive. Are they even trying to win? It's a question that you could most certainly have, right? And one of the other teams that, at the very least, have made some more moves is Seattle Surge. And this is kind of funny from Octane yesterday. Crimsix just made a group deal with my entire team just to show us his guns. I cannot stand this more. And I gotta say, some more IRL content between some of these pro players would just be hilarious. Some, you know, obviously we had this like boxing matches going yesterday or whatever. Whenever there's some drama and some beef between some of the pro players, get them in the ring. It'd just be entertaining stuff. We've heard people talk about like if you had like, you know, a LAN environment or a bubble. We talked last year actually about if there was a bubble for champs, right? The amount of crazy content that would come out or something like that. So yeah, just some entertaining characters I'll see, no doubt about it, as Octane's talking about right here. But one of the main things was regarding this. So yesterday, there was a couple of control games which I wonder what you guys think about exactly what is the most boring control map or the worst map in the entire game. So as Zero says, right, right here. Garrison Control is one of the worst map and mode combinations I have ever seen. It's impossible to break A point unless the other team makes an error, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. If we got checkmate, it's okay. I will remind you, says Arcitys in the reply. Now, Zero, of course, been a top tier pro player for a number of years. Had a tough time this season, couldn't get out to the States to compete for the Royal Ravens. Not signed to them technically anymore either. If I was like, let's say this expansion comes in next season, I'm not sure it will, to be honest. If it does though, and I'm a general manager, Zero is probably one of the very first players that I'm picking up, pairing him with maybe Nasty or something for the European side. I think there's so much talent outside of the States which doesn't get the credit it deserves. And Zero's been a great player for years, super versatile as well. So I like to see him back in the Pro League at some point or other. Certainly deserves his spot in the league. But as Arcitys says, disagrees about which control map is exactly the worst, right? Because Garrison Control has not been the greatest map so far this season. There's no doubt about that. But I think the FaZe guys actually kind of like it. They're pretty good at winning offenses on this map. And well, some teams aren't particularly good at winning checkmate offenses. And I do kind of wonder whether there could be some change to the control map set. I don't really think it's going to happen at this point, to be quite honest. Standoff might be the best candidate, right, if they actually tried it. But the problem is really with the way the Pro League is structured is that by the time Standoff arrived into the game, they had barely any time at all to actually practice with it on the other game modes. Like, I mean, they played hardpoint for a little bit. They were like, okay, this plays too quick. The spawns aren't great. Then try to go and change the spawns. Do they really have too much time to practice for it on control? Are they kind of like happy with how the maps is right now on control? I think there was so many complaints about checkmate control at the start of the season. And a lot of the time, I think on Garrison, and maybe even more so than checkmate, when you go like 4 dead on Garrison, it just feels like it's joked a lot of the time. Not always the case, but the way you can kind of finesse around mid-map on the defense, sit in these like weird corners, it's just so difficult to deal with if you're the offensive team on Garrison. Checkmate, honestly, sometimes it feels somewhat easier because maybe it's somewhat easier to break out of the spawn trap because you don't get killed immediately as you spawn in like you can do a Garrison Control. So it's slightly a strange one. Raid Control is by far the best map we see, but some teams are pretty good at it, therefore it gets banned out quite a lot. Therefore we see some of these other control maps that aren't necessarily the best to watch. As a, well, you know, Trey says right here, you think Gary Control is better than Checkmate Control? By far. Checkmate Control, good luck getting out of spawn. Garrison, at least I can if I have a poor break-off, right? So the break-off is super important right here. As aBeZy says, if you go 4 down at any point on offense on Checkmate, you may as well chalk it up. And so I don't know really, because I feel like sometimes this is the case on Garrison, but well, either map I don't think is particularly great. Sometimes can be entertaining. A lot of the time it goes down to the game 5, and if you get defense, you find yourself in a great spot. As to be honest, we saw right here yesterday between Minnesota Rokkr and Atlanta FaZe, and well, also there was this game between the Dallas Empire and the Mutineers on Checkmate Control. So we kind of got to see both yesterday. I think if anything, Checkmate Control can be more entertaining at times, but you know, it's tough to say. Control is a game mode I do really like, but I don't quite think we have the map set right now to make the best of the situation that we presently have. Will it change though? I somewhat doubt that. Let's talk then about the games that are coming up today. This one I thought was a crazy stat from JP Krez here, analyst over at the Subliners. Max stage 4 hardpoint numbers are unreal, but this one is ridiculous. Look at this. So this is a multi-kills per 10 minutes. The amount of 2 kills or more that you get in, you know, within 5 seconds that he says right here per 10 minutes. Mac right now has pretty much double what anyone else in the league has. Mac has almost 7 multi-kills per 10 minutes. The next highest player is Afro at a 3.67, then CleanX, then Formal. So remarkable to see how much Mac has been dominating. Can he keep up this level though today up against Toronto Ultra? That is certainly going to be a stretch. And well, Crimsix and Empire need Ultra to win against the New York Subliners to actually get Crimsix and Empire to top 3 winners bracket for the major. This kind of funny as well. There was some discussion from Jake about, okay, Dashy and Formal should indeed switch roles. Seth is running AR tomorrow, says Hitch. I heard them talking about it today. Tell Seth, that being Scump, and Matt, that being Formal, to switch roles, and I'll have Kenny and TJ switch as well. Okay, just told them I expect you to keep your word. So I wonder what exactly we will see today. These are the 3 games. Before we dive into them, let's look at exactly the implications of this when we look at the group standings at the present time. So over in Group A, we've got, I mean, this is absolute chaos. OpTic right now are 2-2. If they win against Thieves, they guarantee the 3rd seed and nothing else matters. However, that's the final game of the day, which is perfect because it means the other games get to play out and we see what their implications are. So, okay, Paris versus Surge. One of those teams will end up 1-4, and the team that wins will be 2-3. And if Thieves beat OpTic, then they'll be 2-3 as well. So there will be, if Thieves beat OpTic, a 3-way 2-3 tie, which means it will come down to head-to-head map counts between those 3 teams. If you're an OpTic fan, you want Paris to beat Surge, because you lost to Surge in the head-to-head did OpTic, but they beat Paris. Therefore, Paris's head-to-head map count but against Chicago and Thieves is 4-4. Therefore, Chicago only have to lose, like if they lose 3-2 or something to Thieves in that scenario, then still OpTic would get through. So there's still a world in which OpTic can lose and they can qualify. However, if Seattle win, then things get more difficult for OpTic. So if you're an OpTic fan, you basically just want OpTic to win, but if Paris win the first series, there's still a chance OpTic qualify even if they lose. And Thieves can also get through as well with a very comfortable victory, because I think there's a lot of map count implications that are going going to come down to the wire right here. Now, over in the Group B side, this graphic kind of makes it look like it's locked up with the 3 seeds, you know, the top 3 team locked in. That's actually not the case, because Empire right now do lead the head-to-head against FeLo Mutineers, because they are tied at 3 and 2. But this New York Subliners versus Toronto Ultra series has massive implications, because if, let's say Toronto Ultra lose this, then they will be 3 and 2, and therefore it's a 3-way tiebreaker between Ultra, Empire, and Mutineers. So basically, Empire want Ultra to win. If Ultra win, then there's 2 teams 4 in 1, and Ultra get the number 1 seed in the group, which is pretty important for them. But if Toronto lose to New York, which is obviously very possible, then there's going to be a 3-way tie right here. And because Dallas got destroyed by Toronto and only beat Mutineers in a game 5, and because Mutineers beat Toronto and went the distance with Dallas, that will mean that Dallas have the worst head-to-head map count between the 3 teams, and they will get 4th. So Toronto need to beat Subliners for Empire to get top 3, otherwise these 3rd and 4th place will switch, and these of course are the games. So Legion versus Surge, the winner of that, as I said, is pretty important for the final series of the day as well, and also to some degree for pro points. These teams aren't eliminated from champs as of yet technically, so they can still get some points up here on the board. Then this series, as we said, Subliners versus Ultra, this is good for Dallas in a way, because it's not like Ultra just need to, you know, win to get Dallas through. They also need to win to get themselves the number 1 seed, so they have more to play for than just playing for Dallas's situation, right, which maybe they wouldn't care too much about. It's not like Toronto are already locked up and this series would just, you know, guarantee that Dallas get top 3. It's actually very important for Toronto to win this, given their loss to the Mutineers earlier in the stage. And then we've got the final series of the day. This is an absolute banger for so many reasons. I'm so excited, to be honest, to see these players back in business, because Formal versus Kenny has obviously been a thing as of late on the timeline. I'm sure we're going to get some tweets being liked as a result of this series, most certainly tonight on the timeline, whichever way it does end up. And then of course you've got Slasher back on the team. Slasher versus Formal has always been a thing for a number of different years now, and yeah, Formal always considers him to be like Slasher's hard counter type of thing, and I'm sure Slasher wants to prove that now him back in the team, he can get the job done. And of course OpTic just a couple of days ago lost to Surge, so Thieves, I'm not sure Thieves are technically favourites here. They obviously lost to the Minnesota Rokkr, but still, this series, if anything, is just a coin flip right now, which is incredibly exciting given the implications on the line. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.